is to leave the stream unmuted by accident. I think I can safely make that statement. But all right, guys, we are back. Welcome back. We're gonna be covering this Candace Owens video. We had a nice little convo. Too bad I had half of the side muted. It's unfortunate, but you know. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
Get to hear all my base takes.
Video.
Good.
I went and had a baby and have definitely been missing being a part of the political dialogue, and I think that this video might be one of the most important videos that I've ever done. Certainly more important than me adding clarity to the George Floyd situation, which garnered 100 views. But
it was muted for me.
Are you guys okay? Are you guys okay?
I'm good now.
I'm not getting any audio.
Discussions that have been had about the.
Check like how to go over the actual video, and like right next to the Facebook icon, there's a see if that is on, because it was off for me too.
Oh muted. No, everything works for me. I just heard that you guys were having issues, so.
This is terrifying stuff. I have never seen such a mass brainwashing take place with so little facts, and I wanted to again provide clarity. And I have some notes here just for specifics, because I think, especially in a time when we know that there is censorship in America, and that we know that Facebook...
Pause. You got
mass brainwashing, mass brainwashing, and then we're gonna go straight for something that has been brainwashed into people.
Well, yeah. So I think it's pretty ironic that she's gonna start this video off by going into the fact, like, I just can't believe we've seen such a mass brainwashing of people, like, when she's literally been part of the group that's been brainwashing people into thinking that the election was stolen for them, while their candidate was calling Georgia election officials, telling him to find votes, and moving on to like getting laughed out of court every time they brought these cases forward. By the way, laughed out of court by judges that Trump himself appointed. So if you're wondering if there's like a conflict of interest there, or maybe they're just these liberal judges, no, these are judges Trump put in place. So
and I mean that their defense was so good, or their arguments were so good, that his own defense team was quitting. That's how good his arguments were. Okay.
And then the GoFundMe that was supposed to be funding these legal trials and required funds that would take to pay these lawyers and everything. All that money was going back to pay off his campaign. Maybe we're wrong.
Brainwashed.
Maybe we're brainwashed.
I'm brainwashed, guys.
Know? And then
we're brainwashed.
And then censorship is taking place in America. She says this as one of the most popular online people in the world. Literally,
on the right, the ones that are getting censored, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Hey, real quick, guys. What time are y'all at? I'm at 4:44. Is that where y'all?
54 seconds.
54 seconds. Okay, my shit screwed up. All right, let me go back. You said 54 seconds. Okay. All right, cool. Just let me. Hey, because I can't get the watch along to work, so I'm just gonna do it this way. So I don't hold anything up anymore. So just tell me when y'all just say pause or play whenever y'all pause or play.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1, play.
Truth is not allowed to be told. It is important that I remain extremely factual so that nothing can be disputed. So first and foremost, I want to just tell everybody that I was in DC when this Capitol riot took place, and I keep putting it in parentheses because it is very bizarre to me that this is being claimed to be a riot when the Black Lives Matter riots that took place all summer were just deemed to be peaceful protests. So that.
Okay. Yep. Hold up. So we're gonna remain factual.
Tim, did it pause for you?
Pause.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. My bad. I should have said that. So we're gonna remain factual, but let's roll into the fact that the riots were quote unquote riots, when it's been deemed by everything, pretty much anyone that looks at it, except, well, apparently her and a few others, it's a riot, even when Fox News is calling it a riot as well. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't.
no, it's that she's morally loading it like crazy, and
Oh yeah,
when she's talking about when she's talking about the Black Lives Matter and stuff, like we've already said this
and it's
statistic numerous
the
times.
93. Yeah, the
Yeah, the
93% fact
93%. Yeah,
that it was peaceful, and then the other 7% were people that obviously were using it as a
yeah.
way. Like, and that's the problem with.
And to be completely
Yeah,
fair,
Washington.
there were a lot of bad things that happened this summer. But I mean, when you have millions of people very angry and upset marching the streets, there's bound to be,
A few bad
shit
apples.
that happens. Yeah, like that's,
Just like here,
and
like it's the
we
same
don't
thing.
condone
Like
it, of course.
I could assume that the riots at the Capitol. I mean, I would assume that, like, let's say at least 93% of them were peaceful
Yeah,
for the most part.
None that went inside though.
I wanted to find the actual data like from the Washington Post article that I remember reading. Basically, only 3.7% of BLM protests involved property damage or vandalism. Some portion of these involved neither police nor protesters, but people engaging in vandalism or looting alongside the protest. In short, our data suggests that 96.3% of events involved no property damage or police injuries, and in 97.7% of events, no injuries were reported among participants, bystanders, or police. I wanted to pull this up so that everybody understood. We were quoting an article when we were giving those numbers. This isn't just our opinion. This isn't something that we pulled out of thin air like most conservatives do online. This is something that actually has been documented and researched, and that we're kind of citing in the situation. But yeah.
Which would really, the whole idea that the Black Lives Matter entire movement was, violent is not.
It's not true.
It's not true.
It's like, if you want to talk about that very little percent that were, then sure. But I don't think anyone necessarily condoned it.
I know there's a lot of really loud online leftists too that say really stupid things when there is a riot or something, and they're like, oh good, riots are great, and I'm like, dude, no. We could talk about why riots are excusable in certain situations. We can even talk about why we understand that they happen, but we can never condone bad actions, right? And I'm not even saying that the riots are as bad as what's going on the other side or anything like that. I'm just saying if we want to be truly honest with not just the world but ourselves, we really do have to be honest with ourselves, right? And
and it's what was it that I saw, and I don't know, I don't want to get messed up, but Destiny, he said there's a way to understand or see why someone's doing something but not necessarily agree with it,
oh, the whole
his is
the whole sympathize and understand why political violence would happen, but not
necessarily
not
condoning
supporting the pragmatism of it. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's not, I'm not saying I 100% agree with that, but that's a good way to look at it if you wanted to. That's a logical way to look at something.
Yeah, sure. You guys at 125?
Yep.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Pregnant, I was sitting on my couch and my phone went off psychotically from my family members who were concerned, saying, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? They know that I live very close to the White House in DC.
Candace Owens doxes herself, guys.
Watching CNN and watching the news, and they thought that DC was burning. My husband and I almost laughed and kept saying, why are you asking us now if we're okay? We're totally fine. There were actually nights over the summer that were scary when Black Lives Matter was rioting, because they were marching through the streets. They were breaking cars, standing on cars, stomping on cars, breaking in to restaurants, looting, robbing, and they were going after people that had nothing to do with anything, just going after regular citizens and people that live here in DC. They were going after federal property. They notoriously burned an entire church to the ground in DC.
Okay, so this was one claim. At first I looked it up and I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? So because the only thing I could find was ironically there was a case in DC where Proud Boys went and burned Black Lives Matter banners at 2 separate churches, and so I was like, there's no way she'd be getting these mixed up. So I did a little more research, and I figured there was an incident that happened at one church during the George Floyd riots or whatever, where somebody snuck in to one of the churches and tried to start a fire down in the basement, but the firefighters were able to dispel the fire easily, and there was no significant damage done, like, whatsoever. So this narrative that she's painting that they burned down a church didn't happen.
Not true.
Like, yeah, like
they tried, but I mean,
yeah, and obviously the guy who tried to start that fire in that basement, that was obviously bad. But this narrative that she's trying to paint here, not grounded in reality.
And were they specifically tied to the Black Lives Matter movement? Or
it was like the night of.
Let's assume for all purposes of being fair and everything, though, that they were people who were there protesting.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's fair. Like I wouldn't,
Also, something that she says like 3 or 4 times here, I don't know if you guys caught, is keeps coming back to like federal building damages or like federal officers being hurt and things like that. Hot take. If protesters went and burned cop cars, or they went to police stations and they attacked, and I don't mean like just any police station around America, I mean like, let's talk about in Minneapolis. If those protesters would have went to the police station in Minneapolis, and they would have started lighting cars on fire, like police cars on fire in their parking lot, I don't know that I would have been against that, if I'm being completely honest with myself.
Here's the big thing about that is like that's not even just like our argument. That's a right-wing argument. Like conservatives have talked for the longest time about why the Second Amendment is so damn important. Which I agree, the Second Amendment is very important for this reason. If the government becomes unjust and there's a tyrannical government that doesn't seem to address the will of the people, then we have a duty to fight back. And that's because that's what they've been preaching for,
right. And that's because like their whole point is the fact that they want to justify the marching on the Capitol because it's about, they felt like people felt like the election was quote unquote stolen from them.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to Black Lives Matter, when those people felt, like they were being, persecuted, like, then it's now all of a sudden not okay.
Yeah, and the thing about that too is like, I know people think I get what you're saying, and people probably think, oh, well, you're a hypocrite then because you're against what they did on January 6th or whatever. And it's like, no, you can agree with somebody's principle that where if they feel that the government is no longer meeting the needs of the people, that you have a right to, rise up against it. But we can also disagree with people's reasoning for doing it and fighting for doing an election. Yeah.
Which is why like nobody is like out here saying like we should make political violence legal. It's more so like a very like nuanced discussion like, when is political violence okay? And then like when you meet these certain criterias where political violence is okay, then it becomes like, well, what if I disagree with those criteria, right? And then when it boils down to that, like I don't know if we're ever going to see eye to eye with people, which is in part why I think political violence is seen as so taboo in the country. What happened on January 6th, like in terms of just attacking the Capitol, and you leave it at that, and you're like, oh yeah, if somebody described it to me like this, like, hey, these guys believed that there was some kind of government conspiracy and our rights to democracy were violated and taken from us. So we went and attacked the Capitol building. Like in my mind, when they say that, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, that makes sense. The problem becomes though is that none of those things actually happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So while I support your ability to protest and I support your ability to take up arms and everything like that, in this specific situation, I can easily see that wasn't the right move, right? So like I think that's where we kind of like draw that line and everything.
Absolutely, I agree.
All right, let's go ahead and hit play. I'm hitting play 3, 2, 1.
Statues, you will recall, Black Lives Matter accomplished billions of dollars in damage all across America during the summers, and it was the word riots were never used. They were simply called
by the
Black
way.
Lives Matter.
They were absolutely used.
Protests. So I was a bit alarmed, just because
Also,
I knew
remember, we did just go over that article.
Hear helicopters hovering low, which we heard as they were trying to disperse the Black Lives Matter crowds. DC gets a lot of action. Brett Kavanaugh protests. They stormed the Capitol building. They were going into offices of senators, yelling at them in the hall.
No, they weren't.
No, they
weren't.
At most, they knocked on the door.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they were ignored.
The Supreme Court. Yeah, so this is another claim I looked up instantly because I was like, okay, it sounds really like she's painting such a good narrative. This is why she's so fucking Weasley. So they marched on. They didn't march on the Capitol building like they did on January 6th. They went to. There's a few protesters that got to the Supreme Court door and were banging on the door. That's the extent of what happened. They were banging on the door of the Supreme Court. That whole process went down without a hitch. There was nothing even remarkably comparable to this. And then this whole. Going into senators' offices and stuff like that. Like, I don't even know where
ransacking, breaking windows, like
yeah, she's
stealing shit. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. No, dude, I hate grifters. I really do. Especially right-wing grifters. Don't get me wrong, but like, oh my goodness, this is so bad, dude. Because she says something that has like a sprinkle of truth in it and just like surrounds it with lies, dude. So like
Yep.
Oh my god. All right, I'm in play.
All right, press play.
Called riot. So I was first and foremost just confused. And then, obviously, afterwards, it seemed that suddenly the rhetoric had gotten to a place that was insane. AOC has started saying that she survived murder, that Ted Cruz almost murdered her.
No, she didn't.
Almost murdered.
She said she tried. She said he tried to have her killed because he was involved in that entire group. All right, whatever. I guess that's a weird line to draw, but I think it's important.
Later learned that she wasn't even.
Yeah, we'll
in
talk
the
about the
Capitol
AOC thing real quick after,
and that she was actually evacuated from her office, an entirely different building, and it was actually as a precaution and before anybody ever entered the Capitol building. So almost murdered is pretty intense. I also saw a hashtag trending on Twitter of never forget January 6th. Using the term never forget is intentional. It derives emotion for a lot of people. It's what we say when we talk about 9/11. Never forget 9/11. Thousands of Americans were killed on 9/11. It was a horrible terrorist act and something that we should definitely never forget. Never forget also for a lot of people derives memories of the Holocaust, obviously, something that we should never forget. Millions of people were executed in camps during World War II.
Let's pause really fast. Something else that we should never forget is that Fight Club was the greatest movie ever, and I think that's really important as well.
True.
And I think that's just as relevant to this as the January 6th. But okay, sorry.
Yeah.
We'll
no, let me go ahead and speed run a few things. So she was talking about AOC with the whole Ted Cruz thing. Yeah, she was being a little hyperbolic there, but like, your words have consequences. Now, right-wingers have been jumping on the video that AOC made talking about her story and the traumatic experience she had. I don't know if none of them watched her video or if they just heard somebody's interpretation of her video, but she like every attack that they throw at her that she wasn't in the Capitol building, that it was a police officer that came and got her and stuff. Like, she said all of that stuff in her video. Like, the stuff they're attacking her with is stuff that she addressed like completely. So, but that's funny. Yeah, and then obviously that's where I got the never forget topic from, was because I heard her bring up 9/11 first, and I was like, when we talk about never forget, we talk about the Holocaust. I mean, 9/11 is a completely different thing, and I mean, I guess you can go there, but if you go there, then what's like where, like, why can't we just draw the line at January 6th? Like, we can just as much use it for that. But anyways.
Oh, Tim, you have a question in chat. It says,
What's that?
It's actually not it's not really a question. It's more so a 3 Twitch emotes together. And when you put them together, it says, "Okay, Boomer." So I just thought I just thought I would let you know.
It's probably the most important thing we're gonna say tonight, to be honest.
Yeah, who's the
Yo, somebody actually put another one in there, and I think they're directing at you, Drew. It says Fight Club equals a trash can emoji.
Dude, just for that, no, just for that, I'm gonna do an entire video tomorrow about Fight Club and why Fight Club is the best movie ever made. I'm going to do it's going to be an hour-and-a-half video. I don't care. In college, I wrote a 15-page essay on why Fight Club is the greatest movie ever made, and I will absolutely make that video now. So. All right, let's get back to the topic.
And Jonesy6292 put in looks like she's cursing and gonna axe you. Good luck with that.
Right. That's okay.
Not you.
I'm being censored for my opinions.
Dedicated
no, not you.
The tragedies and the things that happened. So why would the hashtag never forget be used to describe people entering a federal building illegally, which was done? Nobody is denying that people illegally entered. We saw the glass was smashed. We saw some clips where they were let in, it seemed, and they were walking in, but definitely other clips in which they were not. So that aspect is not being denied. But why try to derive such a serious imagery to people's heads? Tucker Carlson brought to attention the fact that CNN, in a really extreme manner, compared what happened on January 6th to the Rwandan genocide. Just to put that into perspective.
When I covered this video the first time too, I think I talked about this too. She said that they claimed it was like the Rwandan genocide, and I hadn't heard the Rwandan genocide in like legitimately a full year. Was the last time I'd even heard about it. And I'm like, I'm pretty plugged in. Like, I get a lot of media every day. Like, I see most of the dumb takes online, right? And the first person to compare this was Candace Owens right now that I had seen. I even tried looking it up. I went to YouTube. I typed in CNN Rwandan. I typed in CNN genocide. I couldn't find anything about it. Like, I tried going on Google too to see if maybe it was an article, maybe it wasn't a video. Nope, nothing there either. Like, I genuinely couldn't find anything that she's talking about. And this is a really, really common right-wing tactic, especially right now, is they will create this insane straw man that nobody holds that position. They'll be like, this is what they believe. Isn't that dumb? Like, me and you, we're smart guys, right? We're smart people. We're common sense, like working class people with some real sense to us. Like, look how silly these people are. Nobody believes that, dude. Come on. Like,
Yeah. Comment.
Like,
thank you for being. One of the comments on the video was like, "Thank you for being a role model for my 10-year-old girl. She's writing a paper about you for homeschool." Oh my god, that's such a conservative comment.
Please. Please help.
So brave! Exclamation point. Jeez, dude.
She's writing a paper about you for homeschool. Fucking yikes.
Yeah. All right. We just got done with PragerU class. We're getting into Breitbart next hour, Candace. So thanks for the little intermission you gave us. All right, let's go ahead and hit play now, guys.
Yeah.
Tutsis were killed during the Rwandan genocide, and they were killed in horrific means, burned alive, entire cities, people slaughtered in the streets with machetes. 1 million plus people were killed, and they are now saying that what happened on January 6th was akin to the Rwandan genocide. That should offend you, just from a stance of, if you have a brain cell, what those people lived through in Rwanda was incredibly real. 70% of the Tutsi population in Rwanda was taken out, and they're saying that January 6th was like this. If you ask the average person who does not think critically and just accepts what the media tells them to, and who is buying into this rhetoric that something big happened on January 6th.
All right, I'm pausing. Okay, when you ask the general person who doesn't think critically and just takes the media that they consume at face value, who does that sound like?
Exactly.
Who does that sound like? Okay, which side of the equation here was like, okay, yeah, let's have these investigations, and if it bears anything out, like, we'll hear it out. But right now, you guys are getting laughed out of court because you have no evidence. You don't even have cause to bring this to trial. And yet, but then Fox and OAN and Newsmax and what was the other one? Project Veritas and all of them, they're like, wow, look at all this evidence we have for widespread voter fraud. This is clearly a cover-up. And it's amazing that anybody could believe that this election wasn't stolen. And people were like, yeah, like, you're dumb if you think the election wasn't stolen. And like, let me ask you, which side sounds like they don't think critically, and it sounds like they take their media at face value? Like, really be honest with yourself on that for a second. But yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's be honest. If somebody uses, like, Newsmax or OAN specifically, as like evidence, let's be honest. Don't we like raise our eyebrow before we even like hit the play button? Like,
yeah.
Which yes, it could be considered like, oh, you're biased. It's not biased. It's just, once you get about 4, 5, 6, 10 videos from somewhere, and they just never are correct or have very little truth to them, it kind of gets old. So, and if you ever use the Epoch Times as evidence, I will say right here, until something changes, I will completely ignore it. I won't even read it.
I just, like, for me, man, like, when people link me, like, even Alex Jones videos, like, I still watch them, because I'm like, if there's any truth into this, like, and he is just, like, covering, like, surrounding it with, like, lies and everything, like, I want to be able to acknowledge that, so at least people will see that I'm, like, engaging with their information and everything.
Oh yeah. I'll acknowledge and watch your videos, but just Epoch Times, like, I just it's I don't know. I stopped. That's one of those few that I'm just like, I don't think I can.
Yeah, even the media, like, I consume pretty regularly. Like, I watch a lot of Vosh's content, like, on YouTube, and with him, I still fact check, like, most of the big claims he makes, because
absolutely
because I have caught him, like, either misspeaking or saying something, like, blatantly wrong before. So I don't want to hear him say something and be like, oh, like, let me go repeat this on, like, 3 different platforms, and it turned out to not be true, because 1, that lowers my credibility. 2, I could genuinely sway somebody with a lie, and that's wrong no matter how you look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that is I 100% agree with. Like, it makes me that much more eager to fact check it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. All right, I'm gonna hit play.
No play.
And that is accurate. People were killed. People died during January 6th. People died. That is 100% accurate. What they cannot tell you beyond that is how did they die. The most important thing to know is that everybody that died was a Trump supporter. So you are being told this was an armed...
I hit pause. That's a really, really bold way to admit that the only people who attacked the Capitol building were Trump supporters. I'm glad we threw I'm glad we threw that Antifa claim right out of the window there. I'm pretty happy. All right, I'm glad that we can have a little bit of unity right now, Candace. We could come together and we could agree that Antifa did not attack the Capitol building. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, I'm gonna hit play.
I was absolutely waiting for you to say that.
And that they were trying to kill people, and yet the only people that died were Trump supporters. Also important is, how did these people die? One died of a stroke. One died of a heart attack. We actually know, obviously, Ashley Bobbitt, I think, was probably the most famed name. That was the Trump supporter who was shot as she was trying to enter through broken glass. You may have seen that clip. She was shot by a police officer. So the idea that these people came to the Capitol armed is completely dishonest, because DC is not, you can't just carry weaponry in DC. We are not a conceal and carry district.
Do we have to pause? Do we have? I was about to ask if we had to pause, because there were literally weapons seized from this. Like, this isn't even like a debatable thing. But go ahead, Brock.
Yeah, I was saying it too. Do we have to address this?
I wanted to say this. I have someone that was on my Facebook. I think he's deleted his account by now, because like he's still on my friends list, but it blacked out and all that stuff, or grayed out. But he absolutely was carrying a weapon with his buddies, because he took a picture in front of like the group at the riot. Like, even if he wasn't like, he may not have been right there, but he was like right outside the White House.
Yeah.
With his rifle right there, and he took a picture, and that was his Facebook photo.
What a dumbass!
Like, are you kidding me? There wasn't a single weapon, Candace. Like, that's false just from that photo alone.
Yeah, I'm with you, Drew. I didn't even know if we needed to pause it there.
When Brock started saying pause, like, I had already like started being like, guys, do we even have to? And Brock was like, no, you know what? Pause. We're talking about this. I don't care.
I just had to bring that up. I mean, like, I have Facebook evidence, like, and it's not the fact checkers. It's a Republican. Your own party just threw you under the bus because they created a Facebook post.
No, you know what, dude? You know what? We have a really good theory in chat right now. I just read it. Jonesy6292 says, pretty sure the real Candace is trapped in the sunken place. I could buy it. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you either have to have no soul and you have to just be a complete sellout, or you have to genuinely not be the same person to file a lawsuit against somebody claiming to have been discriminated against based on your race, and then to receive a large platform reaching hundreds of thousands of people and making the claim that to feel discriminated against in today's America is laughable and it's impossible. Like, how on earth could you genuinely take that position after filing a lawsuit against somebody for discrimination purposes? Like, I just don't get it.
And her first claim to fame on the internet was she basically created a doxing server for ways to dox basically like Republicans and shit like that.
All right, one more time. Great theory in chat here. XXJ Fury, my boy Jordan, says, no wonder she doesn't like flash photographers. Okay, we're going to move on. 3, 2, 1, play.
Former police officers that come in here, they're just not allowed to carry weapons in DC. So this idea that these people were armed, the first question you should be asking is, with what? Tucker Carlson also did an analysis of tracing where the idea of an armed insurrection came from. And it was from, you may have heard, a police officer died. He was one of the 5 people that died that day. You should be asking yourself how that police officer died. Initially, the New York Times reported that he was beat to death with a fire extinguisher. What people don't know is that was fully debunked. That entire storyline is a lie. There was no police officer that was beat to death by armed or unarmed insurrectionists with a fire extinguisher. There was no evidence to support that claim. In fact, after the riot, he went to his office and texted his brother and said that he was pepper sprayed twice, and 24 hours after he died. So that's another story that leads to a dead end. It's completely untrue. There was no police officer that was beaten by any Trump supporters or any people that were at the Capitol that day with a fire
another
extinguisher.
Story.
So, and allegedly,
where does she mean another story?
Guys, I paused it. I just want to.
I just don't know what she meant by like there like another story that goes nowhere. I'm like, it seems like this is the only one that goes nowhere. But if I'm taking it at face value, I could be, you know, maybe I missed something.
He threw a fire extinguisher. That's weird. Okay, it's definitely not the same thing. I'll definitely give her that.
True. I mean, he did assault them with he was unarmed, quote unquote, but he just threw a fire extinguisher. I don't know.
We'll get right back to this in just a second.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta get that YouTube Premium, my guy.
Hundreds of suspects could eventually be charged. Our chief global affairs.
More alarming video from the violent pro-Trump mob attacking the Capitol. Watch as these rioters hurl a fire extinguisher at police officers.
Come on,
hit
dude.
the head. Homicide detectives investigating the death
of
God,
I've been muted this whole time. I'm sorry, guys.
He may have been hit by a fire extinguisher.
Oh, you're good.
I'm such a boomer.
Well,
he just boomer.
I've been muted this whole time.
He's been boomed.
The medical examiner said he didn't die of blunt force trauma, but like a cop died during a riot, so it doesn't matter how, really. Yeah, I mean,
Where are y'all at?
What did they get him for?
What the heck?
What is it?
Okay, it's only 5 seconds. Okay, so he's not gonna actually be timed out. I don't know why that did that, Davis. My bad, but yeah.
Blunt, maybe like.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to go in and allow links in the
see
chat
it.
and everything. That's my bad then. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and re-hit play, guys.
Police officer who did die, that the fifth person died from a stroke.
Okay.
Now that can't be confirmed.
What time are y'all at?
8:11.
8:08. 8:11. Yeah.
I just repaused it at 8:11.
Yeah. What was going on was Davis tried to post something in the chat, and because it was a link, he got like timed out for 5 seconds.
Okay, got you. All right, cool. All right, play.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, play.
The police chief or one of the people at the police station had said that he died of a stroke, but he was subsequently cremated and no autopsy was performed. So all of this to say that every single person that died was a Trump supporter. And yet right now you have Democrats going around saying that they were almost murdered. The people were not armed, unless you're assuming that having a Trump flag and wearing a MAGA hat is a form of being armed. There's no people that have been accused of having weapons. But here's the most significant part where you could say, okay, if you're going to use the word terrorist, then I think it's fair to say that it was an act of terrorism, that we know that pipe bombs were inserted and the media ran with this. There were bombs that were planted at the RNC and the DNC headquarters. The first thing that a critical thinker would say in knowing that is why the RNC and the DNC headquarters? If they're a Trump supporter, why would they put pipe bombs?
Pause it at 9:10. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, or no.
Yep, pause.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So pause. So first thing a critical thinker would do is, why would they do it at both? No, a critical thinker would have done, which would have been like, did they actually? Is this a true or not?
Yeah,
that's what a critical thinker would have done.
So here's my this is one of the main things that triggered me here was it kind of gives you like a window into her mind. It's like she even said like even a critical thinker, why were they in both? She's rather just blatantly lying, which I kind of believe, or she's just so sunken into her ideology to where she can't see a world where it was a Trump supporter, even though. Do y'all remember the thing that they were chanting inside when they finally broke into the Capitol? Who was their main target there? Who did they want to see hung?
AOC and Pelosi, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Well, yeah. Besides them, so that's Democrats. There was one Republican that.
Pence. No, Pence.
Pence. Yeah, it was Pence.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, they kind of went mask off there and is kind of debunking her whole theory here.
Yeah. Well, not just that. Trump's whole speech right before they broke in was talking about how we weren't going to support the weak Republicans and how there are a lot of those. And like, so the idea that like you know, at any way that, like, because they planted bombs at both of them, like, that makes sense. It just, I don't know, man.
So
it
can't be because they planted bombs at both. Okay, well, I mean, you could be right, but at the same time, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying, like, but I mean, like,
I just, like, I'm gonna be completely honest. I think Candace Owens is the worst online person, like, out there. And I don't mean, like, in the sense of, like, her messaging is hateful or, like, the most hateful or anything like that. It's the fact that she has gathered such an audience by being exactly what she doesn't believe in. Because, like, I just refuse to believe that somebody could genuinely be honest in her position right now. Because, like I said, this is somebody who filed lawsuits claiming to be discriminated against based on her race. And then she started working for Ben Shapiro's network and is now claiming that systemic racism is, like, laughable and that there's no societal bias against black people and, like, all of these other things, right? Like, I just don't think anybody could have a good faith approach given their history like that. That doesn't make sense to me, dude, like, at all. And all of her takes are, like, willfully lying, like, to the point, like, where she's just hoping people don't look up anything that she says. So Candace Owens for me is easily my least favorite person online. Easily,
yeah,
no question.
Not even just your average, but, like, most Candace Owens supporters, like, people who watch her videos, they don't look up anything.
Wait, quick question,
yeah,
Drew.
Go ahead.
CRP or Candace Owens?
Well, CRP has, like, a quarter of her viewers. So in terms
That's
of...
fair. That's
yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Like, but I mean, I guess going off, like, I don't know, like, who would I rather have lunch with? Candace probably, but that's because CRP is, like, horrible.
He's obnoxious. Like, he's horrible to, like, people. He's horrible to women specifically, and then, like,
yeah, for sure. All right, guys, we are not even halfway through this video, and we're 42 minutes deep. We gotta let this thing play for a little bit here. I say, let's go ahead and say we're gonna pause it at 11:30, okay? And we're gonna cover the 2.5 minute window there. All right.
That sounds good.
All right, it's playing.
Supporter, why would they put pipe bombs at the DNC? So that was already weird. What's weird about that also is that it turns out with time, of course, when the truth actually comes out, that those pipe bombs were planted the night before. So that did not happen. That was not a part of the Capitol riots. It had nothing to do with people going into the building and entering it illegally, which I
I want to pause right now.
I don't think, and under any circumstances, that, you know, people should be breaking glass and going into buildings to take selfies and to take the Speaker of the House, you know, whatever it is they took from her, and were taking, you know, pictures.
Okay, I'm pausing. I'm pausing. That was way too much.
Yep.
Like, that was way too much ridiculously dumb shit in there. Okay,
they're trying to gish Galapus.
No, okay. So first, she said, yeah, those bombs were planted the night before, so they had nothing to do with the Capitol riots. That's ridiculous because these Capitol riots were clearly planned. We have gathered enough information, and this has all been shown at the impeachment trial, that this attack at the Capitol was very clearly planned. Okay, so, like, saying that they were planted the night before, so they had nothing to do with the attack, is ridiculous. That is, like, the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. That's like saying that, how do I want to put this? Okay, so, okay, are you guys familiar with the Columbine shooting?
Yep.
Okay, if somebody told you that, oh, those kids, they acquired those guns way before they went and shot up the school, so it clearly had nothing to do with it. Like, that would blow my mind. That would, like, legit, like, they'd be like, oh, like, yeah, you see, like, 3 days before they went and shot, they went and bought all this ammunition, but it was 3 days prior. It had nothing to do with the shooting. Like, to me, that would be, like, the most ridiculous statement I'd ever heard in my entire life. Like, the idea that because they planted the bombs the night before, that it's not related to the attack is ludicrous. And then, and then what she just said, God, I got so tied up in that one. What was the claim she just made? Let me rewind it just a little bit here. Hold on. All right.
illegally, which I've already said I disagree with. I don't think.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then she wants to like make an offhanded remark about how they broke in to take selfies, and then she goes, and then like the Speaker of the House, what they did with the Speaker of the House or whatever, and she makes it like sound like a very light comment. They stole Pelosi's laptop, the Speaker of the House of the United States, and tried to sell it to the Russian government, bro. Like, that is not a light thing. Like, you can't just gloss over that. That's not something, like, small. That's treason. That's legitimately... That's
actual treason.
Espionage and treason. Like, this isn't like, oh yeah, like whatever they did with her. Like, what?
How many months did we have to hear about Hillary's emails? Like, yeah, that was the end of the world for Republicans. But somebody stealing the Speaker of the House's laptop, they just took some things.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. This was like legitimately just this. We aren't even... We're halfway through it right now, but this has been one of the worst videos I think I've ever watched. Honestly.
But hey, this is her most important video.
That's what I was about to say. Let's see if we can make it to 12 minutes.
Drew, you look so happy, dude.
I don't hide it either. I don't like Candace Owens. I really don't. So, like, if I get a chance to, like, go in on her, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how it is. But, I mean, if anybody thinks anything that I'm saying is just not true, or if somebody thinks, like, I'm being unfair, like, please inbox me. I would love to get you into Discord and, like, have you on stream.
So you're being unfair, man. You're being 100% unfair. She's hitting you with only facts, okay? So you leave her alone.
Subscribe to her only facts. Yeah. Anyways, Tim, what time are you at? I'm at 9:32 right now.
Yeah, we're good. Let's just try to make it to 12.
All right, cool. I'm hitting play.
Just try.
Any circumstances that people should be breaking glass and going into buildings to take selfies and to take the Speaker of the House, whatever it is they took from her, and taking pictures and making a mockery. I don't support that at all. But it is important to stick to the facts, which is that these pipe bombs were inserted or placed the night before, and the FBI still, which I find to be incredulous, has not determined who placed the pipe bombs. So that could be a Democrat that placed them. That could be a Republican that placed them. I find it unbelievable that a couple of blocks from the White House where the president lives, they have still not determined who placed those pipe bombs. In fact, I think, and I'm speculating here. It's
maybe if Parler would give a term of service, we could find out
who placed those pipe bombs, and they're withholding information from the public and allowing the media to run away with it and allowing people to believe that it was Trump supporters, and it just factually speaking was not. That is an unknown. Very little is known about what actually happened this day. But we are being told that it was a Rwandan genocide where millions of people died. This is really scary stuff, and what's scary is that so many people fell into this delusion. People were reporting people that they live with, their neighbors, their brothers, their sisters, people that they went to school with, and saying they were in the Capitol that day, report them, something should happen to them, these people should be arrested. And so you're sort of allowing this poisonous thing to happen where you're having people turn on each other absent any facts. If you are going to say that these insurrectionists for breaking glass, they're deemed insurrectionists, they're deemed traitors, they're deemed treasonous, and at the same time say that they went through this for 6 weeks long during the summer because of George Floyd riots and protests and the breaking of glass and the looting and the rioting that took place. We just deserved it because we're just a horrible country and everyone's so racist that when one black man dies of what has just now been...
Okay, it's 11:30. I'm pausing. It's 11:30. I'm pausing. Okay.
Do it. All right. Do it.
This is rich. Okay, this is really rich. Candace Owens spoke out against the BLM stuff for months. Oh, to be honest, she's been doing it for years at this point. Yeah. But the George Floyd stuff specifically, she's been doing it for months, right? So this is like something that she has been openly against, and she's talked about extensively being wrong. Now, when the attack on the Capitol happened, she is trying to equate that with those protests, first of all, as a way to kind of like to try to paint what happened on January 6th in a less bad light, right? The funny thing about this is, to her, the light she is trying to paint this event in was horrible. But she's making it sound not that bad when she talks about it, right? So I don't understand how somebody could be so openly against the BLM stuff and saying like that was objectively wrong and all of this other stuff, and then turn around and tell you, like, when the January 6th attack happened, be like, oh, it was just like the BLM stuff. Like, it wasn't that bad. Like, I mean, people were talking about it, like, nobody was talking about the BLM stuff, you know? And I'm like, bro, like, yeah, you've been talking about how terrible that it was for literally years now, and months for these protests and everything. And then now you're trying to say it's not that bad in terms of the January 6th stuff, because it's just like the BLM. Do you guys kind of get where I'm coming from with this? Am I explaining that right?
No, you're saying, yeah, exactly.
You're right. I see it like it's
conservatives do this all the time. They're like, the media doesn't want to tell you this, when like ironically, like people like Tucker Carlson will say that. It's like, dude, you're the media.
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up.
Honestly.
And sadly, Candace Owens is media to some people. Like, she is legit. Like, she's equivalent to what she's equivalent to like Newsmax and OAN to them. Like, that's like a news source, which makes, number one, it makes no sense. And if like we're doing right now, all we're doing is either like going over known facts, and in some cases going over just like looking up simple searches and finding this information.
Hot take: she's the Kyle Kalinske of the right.
Yeah, like that guy's horrible too. Don't get me wrong, but I have a hard time equating Candace Owens with anybody, because she's just
I know,
so bad, dude. All right, I'm gonna hit play. 3, 2, 1.
Let's try and make it
Minnesota,
13.
And a police officer
14.
goes to the extremes to stand on his neck. That means that we are all guilty and we all must suffer the consequences. And, you know, federal property is allowed to be pulled down, churches are allowed to be burned, and none of that is considered rioting or insurrectionist. But some idiots break glass and go into a Capitol building. No politician gets hurt. No building is burned down. And this is the big deal. An important historical lesson here, and I think what everyone should take the time to look up is the Reichstag fire.
I'm sorry, guys. I paused it. It's 12:05 right now. Okay.
Can I? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just have a quick question. If the Chinese government sent 200 operatives and they attacked the Capitol building and no senators were harmed and only 6 civilians were killed, and this was an attempt to like seat themselves inside the Capitol and take hostages to try to overthrow our government, do you think that Candace Owens would come here and she would make this claim?
Or if it was Antifa?
I went pretty extreme. Yeah, let's say it was Antifa that did this. Do you think she'd be taking this position?
No, absolutely not. Because they're trying to make Antifa as being the ones doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like they're like, oh, and can I say something that I know it's crazy, but I think we really need to let everyone know. It seems like Candace Owens is really hating on like glass workers, because she literally keeps bringing up, oh, just broke some glass, like it doesn't matter, like glass lives matter, man. Come on, dude.
I hate you, dude. I actually hate you, Brock. Oh my god.
No, but
dude.
why is she acting like it's only glass breaking here? Like
Tim,
to be honest.
Tim, time Brock out in chat for 5 minutes. He's not allowed to type. Okay.
Well, he's got a point. If you remember the Attitude Era in the WWF, like all the time Stone Cold's music hit, all that glass breaking, you know, that's just another glass worker who has a long day.
I hate you guys. I want you to know.
But does everyone see how she keeps saying like over some broken glass? Because she said that at least 5 times right now.
Yeah,
like, and repeats it constantly over some broken glass. I'm like, yeah, like like we've already discussed, like the stolen laptops, the stolen podiums, the destruction, the death that's gone on. Oh, just over some broken glass, and she's the oh my god. Please.
All right, let's hit play. 3, 2, 1.
the notorious Reichstag fire that took place in Germany, in Berlin. And it was at a time when the Nazis were against the communists and trying to seize power in America. And, it has been still quite nebulous on the details of who actually started the fire in Parliament. But the Nazis seized the opportunity. One communist allegedly started a fire in Parliament, and the Nazis used that as a pretext to garner sympathy and to pretend that this act was so horrible that they now had a right to strip people of civil liberties. And it is how the Nazis assumed a totality of power in Germany. In Germany.
That's actually
Germany, they
almost
forced,
completely true. Yeah.
The Reichstag,
A lot of that's
it was
true.
called the Reichstag Fire Act to be signed. I think it was called an act, the Reichstag Fire Decree to be signed, and it allowed them to mass arrest all of their anybody who was politically dissident, anybody who didn't agree with them. It allowed them to seize basically ultimate power and to stop these people in their tracks. And they seized so many civil liberties. They shut down publications. They shut down speech. They started censorship. And this is exactly almost textbook what the Democrats are doing right now, except there was no fire. There was no fire that happened. And yet they are accusing essentially 80 million Americans of being political terrorists. They are shutting down shows.
Which 80 million?
Saying, they wiped the Parlay app, entirely.
Parler.
They are now saying, in collaboration
Parler.
with tech companies, that nobody is allowed to question the results of this election because it led to this horrific event where only Trump supporters died. That makes no sense, right? And so they are censoring accounts, thousands of accounts that they're saying are guilty on Twitter for this insurrection. They've sent.
Okay, guys.
Oh, thank God we made it. Okay.
Go ahead, Brock. I'm gonna pull up a notepad document to lay out a Candace Owens argument.
Oh, you're good. You're a good thing. You go. So let's just say the fact that number one, like, we just want to get rid of the app because, like, 5 people. I'm like, well, it seems like they may have actually used this app, and 5 people may have just died, and they were your own people. I don't like. Do you not care about their lives or something? I could go down this road, but let's not go down there.
Real quick. Real quick, it's so funny the irony of Candace Owens, who works for Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is the guy who, has virtue signaled about how comparing things to the Holocaust is, so gross. But, that's literally what she just spent this past 2 minutes doing.
Oh, exactly. She used a nice build-up.
Holocaust. Yeah.
She used it as a nice build-up to it, yeah. I mean...
Well, here's the thing, okay? So, Candace, from the start of this video, has 3 or 4 core points that she wants to just keep coming back to. And... they are very shallow and not really any truth. There's not really any truth to them, but she really wants to keep coming back to them because they're rhetorically effective, right? And that's kind of her shtick, as a public figure. She's a very good speaker. She knows how to use her words to sway people.
She knows her audience,
and she knows her audience too. Yeah, absolutely. So I put, what do I want to say, right? If I'm Candace Owens. So she wants to really hammer down the fact that Democrats are bad. Now, like you guys said, she used this Nazi Germany argument, and she came back to that fact that they're leftists and
basically the Democrats are the Nazis in this,
Exactly, and then she came back to saying Democrats are doing that today. I don't know any legislation that's even been proposed that would limit people from being able to talk about the fact that they're conservative or anything like that. So to that extent, I don't know what that comparison was really about. It's also really funny that Candace would use that example specifically because, we were talking right before the stream went live, if you guys aren't familiar with the whole Nazi Germany and what happened and everything, basically the Socialist Worker Party, the Nazi Party, when they gained power, the first people they took out were the actual socialists and communists in Germany. The Strasserites. My German is awful, so if my pronunciation is off, sorry. But you guys can all look this up. The big attack when it happened is called the Night of the Long Knives. It's when they went out and they took those people out.
Yep.
They destroyed a whole bunch of property and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very big historical event that nobody really knows about because for a lot of reasons. But in my opinion, the biggest reason is because throughout history, what we've kind of seen is people use the words socialism and communism to mean a lot of different things. I just watched a court hearing that happened in the 1960s. And it was basically, they had this guy on the stand, and they just kept asking him, are you a member of the Communist Party? And that it kept coming back to that, as if this was like a criminal offense. And he kept saying, no, I'm not a communist. I just have like very socially progressive views. Like he kind of went into that, and they were like, you were seen saying this and this and this, and like it like they really hammered down on the fact that they think communism is like anti-Christian and that it's anti-America, right? Like that's what they kept hammering down on. And you even see that kind of narrative prevailing today.
Yep.
So that's probably why you haven't heard about the Night of the Long Knives, and why you've always heard that the Nazis were socialists when, spoiler alert, they weren't. You can go back and look at their policies. They were extremely capitalist, like to a fault even. So what does she want to say? She wants to keep hammering down the Democrats are bad. Something else that she wants to say, it's kind of a cherry-picked fact. She wants to tell you that only Trump supporters died. When you step back and you realize that 85% of police in this country supported Trump, so the cops and the guards there were probably Trump supporters. And then you look at the fact that this was a Trump mob at the Capitol.
Yeah.
It's very easy to discern the fact that, of course, only Trump supporters died because they were the only ones there, right? And then she wants to come back to the fact that this isn't even as bad as BLM. She has not engaged whatsoever with the actual facts of what happened that day. She's grabbed these little one-off statements, and then she keeps retreating back to these three things. And if you think I'm lying, go watch this video again. Every statement she makes, every claim she makes, she starts off with what happened, and she runs back to these three things the entire time. You will not see her engage with the events that happened and explain why it wasn't wrong or anything like that. She just runs back to these three core points. So
Yep. And it doesn't and there's no like, she's not disproving, like she's not saying like the title is like the riots, or what they're telling you about the riots is a lie. Like she hasn't proven like anything here.
Yeah. Yeah, she just uses very terrible language, I'll say that, to kind of like give you an idea and then let you run with it. It works really well with people who already share her opinion. Because and this would work on the left as well. If somebody wanted to tell you why UBI was great or something and you already supported UBI, and when they would talk about it, you would just be like, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. And they could be completely lying to you. Right? But like if you don't look it up, yeah, exactly, because you already think UBI is good, right? So when somebody's telling you why they think UBI is good, your thought process isn't going to be like, oh man, I bet this guy's like lying to me, you know? And like I said, she's extremely rhetorically effective, and she knows her audience, like you said, Tim. So she takes those three core points, and instead of engaging with any of the information, she introduces something and runs back to that. Because she knows when they hear that, they're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like, even though it doesn't actually tell you anything.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's 100% it.
All right,
yep.
Are you guys ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yep.
Go.
President. And one of the most notable things is that they keep showing this clip of Trump saying, march to the Capitol, and they stop the clip short because they don't want you to hear the end of the sentence where he says peacefully and patriotically. So they're outright lying about what the president said so that they can censor him and 80 million voting Americans who supported the president in this election. They've canceled accounts. They've shut down publications.
74 million.
A voice. Parlay, which was the social media app that conservatives were conversing on because Twitter had started this mass censorship. Apple and Google kicked them out of the store and used some absurd thing like, well, you know, you're
why are all the top conservatives still on
Trump
Twitter?
Wasn't even on Parlay. So Trump is guilty, what Parlay is guilty, what 80 million Americans are guilty, and what they're really doing is they're seizing civil liberties. They're taking away our right to free speech. It's why when I make these videos, I tell you, hit the share button, because we know that this video could be wiped tomorrow because there is mass censorship going on in America. The truth is not allowed to be told. We saw this all during the election cycle when they basically said if it goes against the narrative that we've agreed upon, we will take it and we will do away with it. And it's a scary time to be in this country when there are so many people, even though I believe more people know the truth, there are more people that don't. I do these videos because people around the world need to understand what's happening in America. We essentially we have the tech in collaboration with the mainstream media, and they are shutting down speech, censoring, lying, smearing, and libeling regular Americans. We had Bank of America begin going through the charges, talk about seizing civil liberties of its clients to see if they were around the Capitol on January 6th. To do what with that information? Nobody knows, right? We are having conversations now where there's...
Okay, we made it to the 16-minute mark, so I paused. Okay, there's a lot of like really bad things in there, so like let's take them one at a time. Do you guys want to start with the Bank of America stuff, or do you want to start somewhere else?
We can start with Bank of America.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know how subpoenas, indictments, or warrants for certain information work, anything like that. Basically, when a very big event happens and you're trying to gather suspects and everything, through the judicial process, you can request information. One way to do that is, like in any kind of financial crime, is subpoenaing bank statements or financial transaction records and things of that nature. If people were suspected of being at the Capitol riot or like being inside the Capitol building during it, and they were trying to round those people up to get them on criminal charges, searching their like bank information would be like standard protocol. I don't know how much I agree with like going widespread with that, like hitting up Bank of America and being like, hey, search all of your customers and see where they were at based on their transactions. I don't think I agree with that. I think there's a lot of issues with that, and I think that you kind of get in dangerous territory there. But that's not what happened
with
here.
That.
Oh, go ahead.
But I'm saying like even with that though, like lefties have been talking about the power corporations have and stuff for a long time. Like so, like you're kind of. You're not going to get any sympathy from people on the left because like this is stuff they've been talking about for a long time.
and like, okay, so I'm not like an ultra free market person. I'm just not. Like I kind of changed my mind on that. I think regulations and certain kinds of how do I put this, sub-capitalism things being applied to the market are good, and they're a net good for society. But it's very ironic to me that the people who claim to be ultra-free market are the same people who are like, oh, Twitter taking Trump off of there is a crime. And I'm like, okay, well, like, let's look at it like this, right? These are the same people who, when they take the political compass quiz, I'm going to Ben Shapiro here for a second. When Ben Shapiro took the political compass quiz, he got to the question that said, is a business's main priority to return high profits to its shareholders? Is that the number one priority? And he answered yes. If you take that and you look at like, say, like cancel culture is what we call it now today, right? Basically people claiming like they're going to boycott things if certain people aren't removed. Like the Gina Carano stuff is a very clear example of that, right? If companies decide to get together and they're like, okay, well, to save face, and the best PR move for us would be to remove him so that we don't lose tons of profit here. Then and they choose to do that. The same people who are claiming that they're ultra free market and they want and they're gonna live and die by capitalism are the same people crying about that, which is like super ironic to me. Like it doesn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like I just don't get it. And to her point about how there's mass censorship going on, like all of the top conservative people still have their Twitter accounts, and they still have their Facebook pages, and they still have their Instagrams, like they still have their platforms. Yeah, like the idea that people are being censored for being conservative would make sense if anybody was being censored like that. But it seems like the people who are getting censored for being conservative are the people who are claiming like, oh yeah, Nazis have it right, or like N-words, or like saying like these outrageously racist or like ridiculous statements, and those are the people getting banned. And then they're like, well, look, they got banned for being a conservative. And I'm like, dude, that's really brave of you to admit that racism is a conservative position to hold. But yeah,
and a good way to provide an example is I've actually had a few talks with people when they say like, you know, that they're banning people on like Twitter or Instagram or something for things that they say, and all I do is I ask them like, do you have some examples? And they're like, well, no, I don't have any like on me. I'm like, oh, okay, I mean, I'll give you time. But all of a sudden they have a left-leaning person that said something outrageous that didn't get banned. I'm like, well, okay, well, that might be a failure in the system, and I can't prove that because you're just regurgitating information for me. But when I ask you for a specific on what you're saying that you're getting banned, like, you can't provide anything. You just tell me, oh, there's hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
You're talking about, I think what you're talking about, Brock, is when Twitter did that purge on bot accounts.
Yeah.
And like a lot of like really popular online conservatives were like, oh, look, like 20% of my audience just got removed off Twitter, and it turns out they were like all bot accounts, and I'm like, dude, way to snitch on yourself. That's insane. Oh man.
Right, and but what the whole point was is that they say that, you know, a bunch of people get banned, and all I do is, and I mean, it's not failed yet. I'm just like, tell me one time someone got banned for specifically having like a right-leaning thought process, because I see tons of posts on Facebook not get banned at all that are super right-leaning. Actually, I'd probably get that more than I get anything else. And none of them have been banned. Well, there has been a few people that do get banned consistently, but they say things that are definitely trying to be inflammatory.
Right.
That would definitely fall under the guidelines of Facebook. But besides that, I like see tons of stuff. I don't see them getting censored at all. And the biggest cry is, you know, fact check. I'm like, okay, well, they blurred out your photo.
Well, to be fair to them, I agree. The number one enemy to conservatives is fact checkers. So, yeah, no.
Oh yeah, they're targeting them. They're targeting them 100%.
No, I'm with you. But, like, it's hard to argue against facts, dude. But all right, guys, we are an hour and 12 deep right now. We've got 3 minutes left in this video. I say I don't care how ridiculous it gets. We let it play till it's done. We do some closing statements between us, and we close this stuff out right now because we took a long time to go through a 19-minute video. So, all right, let's get it going.
Yeah.
Are written by conservatives need to be white. Josh Hawley accusing Ted Cruz of murder for calling attention to serious anomalies that happened during the election time in terms of having the rules changed. He had a very practical, sober analysis of what was happening under Pennsylvania law that any person should be able to have a dialogue of. They're now saying you're not allowed to even say that. Here's my question, and I'll wrap it up with this. If you are the Democrats and you are saying that you legitimately won this election, and Joe Biden is, by your metrics, the most popular American president that's ever run. He got more votes than Barack Obama. He was that energetic and passionate, and he moved the nation in such a way that you have the most popular president ever.
He got more votes than Donald Trump.
Why do you have to censor and silence 80 million Americans. Why would you have to do that if you were that popular?
You're right. Why would you? If that was happening, I'd be worried.
What are you so afraid of by giving a platform to
80 million? Isn't that the amount of people that voted for Biden?
This person is someone that is political and disagrees with me, but it doesn't matter because I'm so popular. Why are they going through such extremes to shut down conservative voices, conservative books, all of their political contenders? Why are they going through these extremes to rush through these policies? There was even talks.
You guys notice no specifics are given?
To try to pass an act like MAGA rallies.
No specifics.
An act of terrorism. The gathering of people that support Trump was going to be considered a terrorism. Why are you going through such extremes? But to compare them to a genocide, what are the Democrats actually trying to accomplish in this country? And let me say this to you people that follow me and hate me and don't like me. You need to sober yourselves up really quick to what is going on, because you may not like me, you may not love like Trump, you may not like Trump supporters, but the powers that they are taking right now, the leaps and bounds they are going through, that'll include you too. One day that will include you too, right? This is not, they're just going to come inward and inward and inward, and eventually when they say that you can't even critique us on Facebook and you agreed with that and thought it was great because they were going after Trump supporters, eventually you're going to have something to critique, and you're not going to be allowed to do that. So don't go with this, I hate Trump so much and I hate conservatives so much, that you would suspend your own civil liberties. This is a scary time and a dangerous time to be in America right now as a conservative, but it also is a scary time to be in America as a liberal. I don't care how leftish you are. You better recognize how scary it is when the tech companies have the power to censor a sitting president of the United States.
Does she think tech companies are leftists?
You're not allowed to talk about it. I encourage
Absolutely.
everyone to share this video. I missed you guys. I missed having these chats. Share, and of course comment, because I would love to hear any feedback. Prove me wrong.
Prove you wrong. All right. Well, good news, Candace.
We already did that.
Good news, Candace.
Good news. You had a load of malarkey going on in there.
Yeah. Good news.
Shout out to my boy Matthew with 1T. Just saw your post. I'm in Facebook jail. Sorry, bud.
Oh man. All right. Well. Whew. So.
We made it.
I think we've talked about how conservatives aren't actually being censored like 100 times on this stream, so I don't think we need to hit on that anymore. If this is the first video from us that you're watching right now, because I will be putting this on YouTube for sure. If this is the first video you've watched from us, and you want any examples of what we're talking about when we say conservatives aren't actually being censored, we did an entire podcast about censorship that you can go check out. We also have very much hit this topic like till we just beating the dead horse on it. It's over, man. If you guys, like I said, just go check out our other videos if you want to hear about it more. Yeah, Candace Owens, pretty terrible. I watched her previous video she did before she took her little break or whatever, where she was talking about how the enemy of the people were the little fact check things that popped up on her posts. I just, like I said, if that genuinely bothers you, then like I don't know what to tell you, because people jumping on my post telling me that I'm wrong, it makes me happy, because either one, I get to take this guy to school, or two, like I get to be presented with new information and I get to change my opinion so that I'm not wrong anymore, right? But yeah, her invite to the barbecue was revoked a long time ago, not even a to-go plate. Thank you, Jonesy 6292. I appreciate you jumping in to dogpile Candace with us.
Good one, dear.
Wait. All right. You guys have any closing remarks about Candace Owens before we jump off?
No, I think we're good.
I mean, just like all I can say is, if you do watch Candace Owens, just like, you don't even have to be like us. Just question what people do, and not even just specifically Candace Owens. Just anything you kind of take in, just get some facts, especially if it's not coming from like a article or something.
Right.
And then I mean, you can still fact check the article too, but I mean, but like I say, like, especially if someone like doing videos like this, you obviously can't see her notes. you don't know where she's getting all this information from. So do what we did and just look it up, or
Yeah.
like anything. Like it's just about educating yourself, because if anything, all you're doing is educating yourself in the process. So
Yeah, and on that note, this video has gone on long enough. I think we're gonna make like Ted Cruz and flee. We'll catch you guys next time. We appreciate all the love and support. We had a lot of different viewers tonight on the multiple platforms that we are streaming on.
We appreciate it.
For real, man. We love the support. If you guys haven't already, please go follow us on twitch.tv/building_bridges TV. We are very close to affiliate. We're trying to see if we can monetize this channel so that we can do multiple streams per week. We've been doing about 2 to 3 per week right now, but we'd like to amp that up to like 4 or 5 to 6. But yeah, we really love getting out here and talking, whether you guys want to chill in here or not, but we do appreciate the audience. So thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time, and